CTV News, Vancouver Island Report.
Good evening. Thank you for being here tonight. We begin in the Comox Valley, where a well-known fishboat captain is in police custody after RCMP launched a rescue on the high seas north of Port Hardy. A crew member dialed 911 from a cell phone on board that boat, saying that the captain had a gun, was high on drugs, and was threatening to kill everyone on board. Tonight we're learning more about the captain and the crew. CTV's Gord Kurbis joins us from Courtenay with more. Gord.
Well, Hudson, it's a case that police say is an excellent example of some of the challenges that they face as they try to police along Vancouver Island's marine environment. They had to locate and then try to track down a fishboat that was moving along and being skippered by somebody that definitely did not want to be caught. But the two people who were crew members on board that vessel are certainly glad that RCMP did not give up the chase. The fishing vessel Opal-T remains tied up at a Port Hardy dock today with one of its side windows badly damaged. The 9-meter gill netter was the scene of a tense dispute off northern Vancouver Island on Sunday evening.
We had charges laid against 49-year-old Karl Darwin Thomas. Those charges relate to assault with a weapon, uttering threats, pointing a firearm, and careless use of a firearm.
RCMP received a 911 call from a 26-year-old female crew member saying the skipper was high on cocaine, threatening to kill her and a 21-year-old male crew member. Emergency response team members from as far away as Campbell River and Courtenay responded. After several shots were fired on board the vessel, they managed to evacuate the two crew members off the bow of the fishboat, and they finally managed to convince the skipper, 49-year-old Karl Darwin Thomas of Courtenay, into giving up.
In relation to the drugs, the indications originally from the complainant were that drugs had been consumed by the accused, so that certainly factored into our response. But as far as evidence that's being gathered, I wouldn't get into any details on that.
The crew members say Thomas assaulted them and feared he'd use a shotgun or knives he had on board the vessel in his attacks. In this tight-knit fishing community where everybody knows everybody, nobody wants to talk about Karl Thomas, at least not on camera. Privately, fishermen are telling me that Karl went by the name of Keith, and he is not somebody that you wanted to have mad at you. One fisherman told me he had a physical altercation with Keith just up the way here, and it took several RCMP members to attend to break up the fight. But this longtime fisherman said Thomas also had a good side.
He's been coming in for years and years and years with halibut and cod and salmon, and he does it a good turn, and so he ran into some problems this time, but I don't imagine or even think that that's the norm for him.
Robert Clark is the wharfinger at the Comox Harbor. He says he hasn't had any problems with Thomas. The Comox Valley man and his father and brother have 3 vessels moored here, including the Elkie 2.
I was shocked. When I first heard the news of the Opal-T and the dealings going on, I was quite shocked and quite concerned for Keith, and it's quite tragic, really.
When Thomas left here 2 weeks ago, he told people he was headed towards Haida Gwaii and would return to sell his fish off the Comox Wharf. CTV News has learned that it may have been Thomas's own daughter and her boyfriend that were crewing the boat. Police are not releasing the names of the crew members. At Thomas's house north of Courtenay today, the home's occupant didn't want to answer any questions and ordered media off the property. Thomas appeared in Port Hardy Court this morning charged with assault with a weapon, uttering threats, pointing a firearm, and careless use of a firearm. So as you could see in that story, we approached the skipper's house to try to get some reaction from family members as to what took place, and also to get some clarification as to if it was the man's daughter that was one of the crew members. The person who was at the house, presumably a family member, simply slammed the door in her face, didn't want to talk to the news media. Also limiting their talk with the media is members of the RCMP. This is because the matter is now before the courts. Hudson?
All right, Gord Kurbis reporting tonight in Courtenay. Gord, thank you.